These interviews in no way reflect the views of E-LAi-sa Productions. This project is in no way endorsed by E-LAi-sa Productions. As students in a continuous state of learning and frequency accretion, we each hold our own unique perspective of the teachings and how they relate to our individual experiences. It is important for viewers to remember that we are in fact self-sovereign beings with free will expression, and we each carry our own perceptual filters with potential for distortion. These interviews are intended to inspire and in no way should reflect upon E-LAi-sa, E-LAi-sa Productions, or any of her work, as there is no affiliation. More information on the Alhambra Magistracy Council of Cosminius, the Melchizedek Cloister Emerald Order, Tantriora, Tantriasia, and the Keylontic Science can be found in the provided links below.
Love in silent whispers brings a light from far beyond. But heart will speak of memories long after it's gone. As a moonlit breeze caress your skin, know our love is there. Distance seeming endless dissolves without a care. Those seasons change and tides will flow on the shores of which we know. But time has new meaning and love can only grow. As music, hear the melodies and the voices of those who know your names. The faces may be unknown to you, but the message is still the same. In life and death we all are one. Division's not as once supposed. Even in the darkest night, you are not alone. The love we send from compassion comes. To understand is then to love. In our voice the echoes of others yet unknown. Of others yet unknown. In life and death we all are one. Division's not as once supposed. But even in the darkest night, you are not alone. Even in the darkest hour, you are not alone. You are not alone.
Okay, so my name's Stephen Redding. I'm 28 years old from Pekin, Illinois, or Phim lineage. What I'm going to speak about is how I pretty much put down drug use to find a better, more efficient, and healthy way to understand the universe and have a deeper connection with Source. And I found KS, or it found me, and where I was at before, where I'm at now, and the details in between. So, I guess I will start with I'll get started a little bit, and then I'll kind of go back into where I really the details before. The first thing I really remember about finding KS was I had just randomly opened a folder on my desktop. I had downloaded, just was going through sites and downloading torrents, just trying to find information about things and just studying. And this was during a period of time I was actually on probation, and I had finally quit doing any drugs. I'd been kind of heavily into doing drugs for a number of years. I kind of spiraled my life out of control, and lost a really great relationship. Almost maybe possibly even lost my kids, and it was pretty rough. I'm not really going to get too into that, but yeah, so I just found this folder on my desktop, and it was the Secrets of Lemuria and the Ancient E-LAi workshop, and I opened it and listened, and from that moment on, just totally dove into KS. So that being said, what got me to that point, I had, been into drugs a lot. Hadn't really done anything other than smoked weed, took mushrooms a couple times, and I had some pretty good experiences with that and sort of getting opened up. I was kind of closed-minded. I was heavily medicated when I was younger, ADHD and bipolar meds, and yeah, that sort of, I guess, possibly screwed my DNA up. I mean, it pretty much did, as far as I'm concerned. Closed off my natural channels to things. I can remember experiences when I was really little being extremely connected, actually being able to transcend density levels. After learning about KS, I think back about, different experiences I've had and had when I was younger, and actually being able to float through different layers at will. But I didn't know what was going on or what it was at all. My mom and dad really were not at all into anything like that. I had no support in that sense. The one time I did try, I remember trying to explain some kind of more scary experience I had, I think probably in the astral plane while I was going to sleep as a child. My mom just pretty much told me to go back to bed and that I was being ridiculous and stuff. And she didn't know. It's not her fault. I don't blame her for any of that at all. But, so I was taking drugs quite a bit, from maybe 2008 or so, at the end of 2008 until maybe mid-2009, until pretty much this point that I'm going to really reference, this big experience that I'm going to reference here. It was actually March 17th, 2012. I dabbled a lot with drugs and had found a drug I could order off the internet. It's called methoxetamine. It's abbreviated MXE. What I could describe it being like was sort of a combination of taking ecstasy, which is MDMA, and ketamine at the same time. MDMA being, opening up your heart chakra and letting you feel very empathetic and in touch and in tune with everything around you and just feeling the love and just really connecting with everything around you. It's a stimulant too, which just keeps you awake. And then ketamine is a dissociative. And this drug kind of did best of both worlds, in my opinion, at the time. So I was able to feel happy and up and connected, as well as disassociate from my physical surrounding, which sort of let me kind of slip out of my body. And, I didn't really know much about energy mechanics or anything like this, and it was extremely dangerous what I ended up doing towards the end when I was taking this stuff. I was just pretty much letting go completely and just letting myself fall into these really deep meditative trance states, and I pretty much would just black out at the end and fall asleep. And I don't know where I went, what happened. At the beginning of taking this substance, it was really great, in my opinion. I just felt very connected. I was having great experiences, so I felt. When I started using it, my life started changing. I started doing it all the time. I kept telling myself that I kind of thought that if I did this all the time and just stayed in this state, that my reality would eventually conform to that, and I would learn how to be like that without the substance. And it was, my intention, I guess. Intention is huge with anything, and intention at first was, just to be connected and have this positive experience. And that worked well for a long time, and a couple months, 3-4 months at least, every day or every other day or a lot during the week I would do this. Um, I would do it with friends, do it with other people. Um, so after a certain point, I'm not exactly sure when or what triggered it. I could guess a couple situations and experiences I had were starting to get less than positive. I believe it's probably because my intention started changing with what I was doing. I wasn't just having an intention of, being positive and just staying connected. It was more like, I want to question this. I want to find this out. And if I do this or take more of this, it'll open me up more and I'll be able to figure this out more and get deeper and keep going. And so I started pushing boundaries really heavily, and started having extremely horrible experiences to where I'm guessing, I'm really intuitive and visual. When people tell me things, I pretty much can see exactly from their perspective what they're seeing, what's going on. And, I'd have these instances where I would black out. And from what my family told me happened during these times was I pretty much would run around saying gibberish, pretty much speaking in tongue, in like a devilish tongue. And I could pretty much see myself doing this when they would describe it. Like I could pull the memory right back out of them and see exactly what I was doing, because I didn't remember from my own perspective. I had to look at it from somebody else's. So yeah, I'm just going to get into this experience I had in March of 2012. I took a very intense amount of this stuff. I also actually was given a 10 strip of LSD. I might not have been LSD. I don't really know. And I decided to take almost all of it. And I did, and did some of this MXC as well. So pretty much completely lost touch with reality. Like, just I remember snapping in and out quite a bit. Like, I knew something was wrong, but I couldn't control it. I knew that something wasn't right, but I kept trying to think that I could make it okay, and that just made it worse. Um, eventually, what I remember happening is I was sitting on my top of the stove in my kitchen. My mom was extremely upset. But it didn't seem like she was to me. It seemed like she was fine, and I was just talking to her. And my family sort of gotten used to me doing this. They didn't want to call the police on me or anything or involve that, because they didn't want to screw my life up any further than it really was. I already was in a bunch of legal trouble at the time, and so my brother, I'm talking to him about this great, awesome thing, and he's pissed. He's telling me, very angrily, expressing to me that I'm screwing my life up pretty much. After that moment, the next thing I remember, and of course, this time I'm not thinking, this is bad. This is all good. This is all good. This is great. It's my perception at that time was it was excellent and great. It was awesome. Best thing has ever happened to me. Just when I'm thinking about looking back, I can see their perspectives of it, because that's what I learned was really happening. But I saw a white etheric figure, or it was more like a ghost, kind of floating, no legs really, just kind of floated through my kitchen. And my first thought when I saw that was, oh, you must be my angel, my guardian angel, or something to help me. And I just completely opened up fully to this thing and completely surrendered myself. And that was when I pretty much blacked out. The next thing I really remember happening was I was outside in my backyard on the deck, sitting down, and I had a police officer walking up to me, asking me what I was doing. And I just kind of was really cocky, looked at him, I was like, I'm sitting on my deck, what are you doing? Because I'm thinking hey, this is totally, I'm in control of this. I'm the boss. I'm making all this happen kind of thoughts. And he responded, I'm standing on your deck. What are you doing? And he didn't really have any communication after that for a moment. I kind of snapped out of it again, and kind of started realizing something was wrong, because there was police officers in my house. And at that moment, I really wasn't sure if I thought all of reality was altered completely, and like everybody else was experiencing the exact same thing that I was at that moment. Um, and the next thing that I saw was those police officers that were there holding my mom by each of her wrists, and there was this big immense hole in my driveway, this huge bottomless black hole in my driveway, and they just pretty much threw her into it and started shoveling dirt on top of it, and pretty much, from my experience, buried her alive. And when I saw that happen, um, I believe at this time whatever had taken over my body, because I know I was something came inside my body and pretty much possessed me for a short period of time, which is why I was speaking in tongues and all that was going on. Um, but after I saw that happen, I started realizing that I had made a big mistake and that my choices were actually hurting other people. It was sort of, I guess, the reality showing me that this is what's going on right now. You're hurting other people. Like your choices are creating chaos for everybody around you right now. And that bothered me extremely. And, I didn't have a false intention. I never was my intention to do that, to hurt anybody. I just wanted to figure the world out more, understand things better. So I kind of snapped out of that again. And there's one of the officers just standing there on my deck, maybe 10, 20 feet away. Not even 20 feet, probably 10, 12 feet away from me. I stood up and I asked him, "Where's my mom?" Because I felt like I wanted to explain to her, like, "Look, I'm really sorry what's going on right now. She didn't really understand at all. Like, that was new to her. It had just started, within the last 4 or 5 months that she knew I was doing these things. She knew I smoked weed, but she never knew that I did anything other than that, really, at all. I never had done it in front of her at the house. I mean, when I did, she never knew about it at all. It was really mild. So the police officer told me after asking that question, and it was like, almost like I was just perceiving it as like pure evil. Like, he was just, well, she's not here right now. And that scared me. And I'm really thinking, like, at this moment, like, I really just saw her be buried alive. Am I even still alive anymore? Did I die? I wasn't really sure. So I went to open my back door and go in my house because I'm like, no, screw this. I'm going to go look for her. I'm going to find her. I want to figure out what's going on. I wanted to figure it out, which was a huge thing I had to work on. Just wanting to figure stuff out so much. And I opened the door. He told me to stop, and we have a sliding back door. And it scared me, and I just I had a big voice tell me, just stop. Don't go inside. But I didn't listen. I was panicked, and I just went with my reaction instead of my response. So I jumped in the door and tried to slam it shut behind me because I felt like, maybe this dude's going to hurt me too. And after that happened, he ran after me, slammed the door open, tackled me to the ground, and radioed whatever code on the police radio is the code for aggravated assault to police. And in about 30 seconds, I had 4 officers on my back in my family room in my house with their knees grinding into my back as hard as they possibly could. And I was just asking them very softly, "Please stop. Please stop. You're hurting me. You are hurting me right now. Just stop." And I was kind of struggling, like, to get away from them because I was in pain. Like, I just wanted to get up and sit on my couch. I did not want them to be grinding their knees into my back like that. And I did manage to flip myself around enough to look at what was going on. And it was a female officer, was like pretty much completely on top of me, my back. And I looked at her, and it looked to me, I grew up in a Catholic church, going to Catholic church every weekend, going to Catholic school for 6-7 years of my life. And, so the devil was a big thing. And I looked at, this red thing with a tail, the devil. I looked at this woman, and she looked like that. Like, she had a red pointed tail, and her eyes were red. Her face had horns on it. It was like almost like a cartoon sort of, but like attached to her. Like, I could feel this thing coming through her in that way. And that really spooked me out. And so I just stopped and kind of just stopped resisting at that point and just realized, like, man, I am in some serious trouble right now. And I was really starting to come down off of everything that had happened. At least I had peaked, I guess, and came back to where I, knew sort of what was going on. So eventually what happened was they hogtied me tied my hands behind, handcuffed me, and tied my legs together. And because I was so hysterical, and they thought I obviously wasn't with it. I mean, I really wasn't. I was really high. They called the AMTs, and the AMTs came in the house. Two of them picked me up, carried me out the back door. One of them was holding my legs. Maybe there was three of them, but I just remember being held by my legs and my arms behind my back. They carried me out of the house. I tried to scream for my mom. I was like, "Mom, please make them stop. Like, I didn't mean to do anything wrong, like trying to just get help externally. Like, make this stop, make this stop." Once we got around the corner from my back porch, the AMTs let go of my wrists and held the middle of the handcuffs and let me hang by the cuffs. And they were giggling and thought it was funny. The whole thing that was going on, just thought I was just high, and it was so funny, and they just wanted to screw with me and abuse me, I guess. So they did, and I actually still have a mark on my wrist from where the handcuff just dug into my skin. And at this point, I just said, "Screw this, I'm done," and completely let go of my body. And when I did that, the dead weight of my body just became extreme for them. Or maybe it didn't, maybe it just all happened coincidentally, but they dropped me, and I hit my head on the cement, and I completely lost my body. Like, it cut completely out, and I thought, "Oh, I'm dead." Like, and I'm pretty sure I did die for a split moment. The next thing that happened was I heard an extremely deep voice, like the voice. I'm sure everybody listening to this, and exactly what I'm talking about. Like, the voice was direct communication from source, said, "No, it's not time for that yet." And what I was seeing at the time was just rings of light, more like squares. And I was just rising up, and then it was like I got this other perspective. Like, I could see the other side of that, like what would have happened, the space I was connected to moving forward from there if I would have not came back to my body, like the checkpoint or whatever some people call it, like that the kind of that space you go to kind of review. Like, I could feel myself sort of halfway there, and at the same time I could see from an aerial view the top of this ambulance that I was in, my house, my neighborhood, and kind of just slowly started to come back down into my body. Once I got back down into my body, I sat up in the ambulance and just like had this biggest grin on my face. I'm like, "Oh my goodness, it's not over. Great. Like, I'm still here. Awesome." Because I didn't want to leave my family like that. I didn't want it to end like that at all. And so I'm going into huge detail here, but I'm going to kind of wrap it up. So we end up going to the hospital. The police officers come in, make me sign a paper, felony aggravated assault to police. After like an hour or so, I get a doctor coming in to the hospital bed that I'm at and just asked me a bunch of questions. I pretty much told him what I did, told him what happened, and told him I was fine now, and I live 2 blocks away. Can I go home? Am I free to go? Am I free to go? And pretty much they just let me walk home. I didn't even have shoes on, and that's like a protocol at the hospital. You're not supposed to leave like that. But I told him I was fine, and I lived close, and I was fine just to walk home and he let me leave. They let me walk back to my house. So I'm walking to my house, and I have this felony aggravated to assault to police charge. And I'm still on probation, so my probation officer comes over the next day, so I explain this to him, and they put me in this rehab thing, and I kind of really cleaned my life up at that point. I was on probation, still doing drugs, pretty much, only doing drugs that I'm not going to get busted for on a drug test, and this was one of them that I'd done. So I cleaned my life up majorly. I actually quit smoking weed eventually, very shortly after that, maybe a month after that, or a little bit less. And was working through this, just working through these challenges in my life, getting through stuff. Came time the day, which was maybe May 1st, and this was the 17th of March that this happened. So a little over a month and a half, 6 weeks after this incident, I had to go to court for this felony aggravated assault to police. I go up to the floor, and I had like flipped my life totally around, cleaned up, and in this period of time, I found I was just downloading things to just feed my mind instead of using drugs. And I had downloaded this E-LAi and Lemuria, Secrets of Lemuria and Ancient E-LAi workshop. But I went to court for that felony, and my name wasn't on the list. They had no record of the charge at all. It was gone, oddly enough. So some miracles kind of took place there. I felt like I was protected. I've chatted with other people that are really into KS, and they have told me that there was a period of time where this was happening, where you were getting step-ins, like, because stuff was so nasty for a while before the failsafe that, one of my higher selves actually stepped into my body, and when I let my soul completely step out, like, or let my incarnate self piece just go out. That way I didn't feel, all that trauma, and kind of just took over for me, and the situation healed. So yeah, that's what happened, and that's really why, like, I started looking for other routes to information besides taking drugs and having experiences, because they were being detrimental for me, and I couldn't figure out how to balance it or what to do. It was just, I'm too open. I guess just things had an easy way just to screw with me, and it wasn't working out. So yeah, I found that workshop, listened to it. Before I actually listened to that workshop, I think I had it downloaded, but I had started listening to Architects of Light, Secrets of the Indigo Children, and I was extremely drawn to E-LAi-sa. I just felt a very strong, positive connection with that, and yeah, it was just very, very good and positive. So I didn't even know, that Secrets of Lemuria and Ancient E-LAi was anything to do with her or her work or KS, or even what KS was yet. I didn't know, didn't have that piece yet. But one night I opened it up, listened to it, and that workshop filled in so many missing pieces for me. It was just like, I'm pretty sure I came to tears 5 or 6 times, listening to it. It was just like, this is exactly what I needed to hear. All about the Azurite team, and coming back after going through Dashi Adab cycle to help the planet. Like, I instantly got cellular memory of all of that, all my choices, making those decisions to actually come back here, getting briefed before we came, talking with others about doing this, seeing the choice right in front of me and making the choice to come back here and help. So that pretty much, hearing that, and I really wasn't sure if I was making it up at that point. Still, now I know, that my intuition's what it is. I didn't really know, I always thought, well, I'm just thinking these things. No, you're hearing them. It's like your higher self telling you, your higher parts of your identity communicating to you what's really happening in those levels. So, yeah. And after that, I, just looked up Azurite Press, dove into KS, downloaded like every workshop that I possibly could find on the internet, which I was able to find pretty much almost everything up to like 2011, 2012. Well, Sliders 12, like the end of 2012, I found all that stuff. It was all there. And I think I kind of overwhelmed myself a lot, because there was so many workshops, and I'm like, oh my goodness, I'm so behind on all this. Like, I'm behind everybody. This isn't going to be, how am I going to ever catch up? Having thoughts like that. I was trying texts. Didn't know where to start with texts. Just there was so much. So I was falling asleep through all this stuff. I was still smoking weed. Actually, I had started smoking weed again and just kind of said screw probation and them telling me what I can and can't do. I just wanted to. It was like a comfort thing. It was like a really heavy clutch of mine. I'd smoked for like 9 years every day. And that probation period was the first time I even quit. So I'm still doing that. I was falling asleep a lot. It might have been because of weed. I was smoking weed while I was listening to workshops a lot at the beginning. But I was still just, absorbing the frequency, and that was the big thing for me, is I could feel this, like, changing me, and it was for the good. It was so good, and it just felt better than any drug I've ever done. It was just like tuning me into what I needed to be tuned into. I felt like connecting me more to where I came from and source and everything. Um, so at that point, after that work, after the March thing, and short time into like May and June over the summer, I really just quit having an interest in doing anything. I was still kind of like, wondering, curious, like, what is this thing? Why did I feel like, why did I black out? What is going on? I was curious still because that's just my nature. And I want to ask why a lot. I mean, that is a huge thing for me, always wanting to ask why. Yeah, I started having, things vanish. And I had kind of dabbled a little bit again, doing a couple things, maybe like 2 or 3 times. I think maybe September, November that year at the end was the last time I even really did anything hard drug wise like that. I was still smoking weed for a long time. But yeah, so my interest in those other substances really vanished, and I just used information that was already there in KS to kind of get more connected to stuff. I had met a group of friends that I went for a Reiki session at a local metaphysical store in the town I live, and meeting that guy and that session, and me being my diet actually at the time, I was practically breatharian. I was on a fruitarian diet, and I was just eating fruit, and it was fine. I was going through heavy detox at the time, and wasn't very healthy physically because I was just eating sweet fruit all the time. I didn't really let myself cleanse enough, drink enough water, enough clean water anyways. So I met these people and I had this experience with Reiki, and it was a half-hour session, completely just healed so much of my energy body. Like, that day I went home, I felt amazing. The next day I felt even better. Next day I felt even better than that, and it just kept getting better and better and better and better after that Reiki session. So I emailed the guy that I went to the session with, and just thanked him so much. And he had mentioned this other thing, the Moon I Ki rites, which are the 9 rites of the Inca, kind of like the things the elders from Peru passed down, the rites they passed down. And they're just like energy seeds, and it gets planted in your field, and you grow it, and you learn to tune into stuff. And at the time, I could relate that to KS. It made sense. It was I had a perception of it to where it was helping me out, and I went through it, and it was a beautiful experience. My friend Isaac is absolutely amazing. Him and my friend Mark and my friend Steven, I just started hanging out with these guys, and they were helping me, not like in the sense where people would help me before in my life or try to want to do stuff for me, but they taught me how to do stuff for myself. They told me, gave me an idea of what I needed to fix in my life, how to fix it, what to do. They didn't do it for me. They just told me what I needed to do, what I needed to work on. And, doing energy mechanics, tuning up my energy body, they could see and sense energy in extremely intense ways, more than I thought I could at the time, or he could at the time, really. So yeah, after a while, I brought this stuff up to them. I brought up the KS stuff to them, and they at first, one of my friends I showed was very intrigued. I played the ancient Secrets of the Lemurian Ancient Yanni workshop, the first one I had listened to for him. And he was very intrigued with the story of the Jesus story, Yeshua story, and all the details that was given about it. And I mean, I'm having a feeling he's really feeling these pieces of the story. And we kept listening to it, and I was pushing it hard, because they had taught me a lot, and it got kind of stale to where. Oh, and I didn't mention that with my diet. I mean, was pretty much like breatharian. I was starting to like not eat and drink and being okay to function. I was really tired, just still detoxing from years and years and years and years and years of cellular, destroying my cells with drugs and bad eating, especially at the end. I mean, I was doing heavily doing drugs, and they were all synthetic. So, I mean, this stuff's storing in my intestines and storing in my body. But it pretty much freaked them out, kind of. They're like, well, this is not good for you, and talked me into eating again. So I just kind of went back to just not totally eating whatever I wanted, but whatever they cooked when I was over at their house, I would eat that, and I would just kind of just eat meat, chicken, stuff I hadn't had in a long time. I started eating all that stuff again. And after a while, I started getting, physically uncomfortable again and stuff. And the energy stuff was great, all the energy work they're helping me with. But it kind of plateaued, and something needed to change. So I kind of dove, and what had happened in between all that with the KS stuff, I'm kind of getting off track, apologize. But they kind of pushed KS away. Two of them did. One of them just wasn't sure. But two of them were one of them completely against it. And the other one just pretty much told me, no, this isn't for you. This isn't for you. So, because they had helped me so much, I was so open to them and kind of following, this path that they were trying to kind of set for me. I kind of felt like I'm just following. They know the answers, so I'm going to listen to these guys. They help me. They know what's best for me, kind of thing. It's like parents, sort of. Like parents, not like parents I had. My mom, she's amazing, beautiful woman, love her to death. Don't know where I'd be without her. She wasn't at that time into anything like this, and I needed this piece. It was crucial for me, the energy stuff. It unlocked so much and made so much sense, and it helped me find my purpose and place and everything, of course. But anyways, so I because I was so looking up to them, I dismissed KS I started to, and I couldn't fully let go. I could feel it in my side of me, in my cells, in my soul, the frequencies were active, and it was like I couldn't turn it off. Even though they were saying, this isn't for you, this is, for older people or people that have started this sooner than you, and yada yada. So I kind of fighted with that for a long time. It was pretty much because my heart was so open to them, I let them install a frequency block in my fields. They didn't do it intentionally, and I let it happen because I was so open and so following and not just deciding for myself. I was just open and letting other things kind of flow in and out in that sense. Kind of the whole new agey love and light, open your heart all the way to everything, love everything kind of stuff. And it's just not, it can really be dangerous. And I found it out firsthand, numerous times since then. So, back to what I was saying about things getting stale. After a while, it started to plateau, and I felt like something needed to change. So I started changing my diet back again, cleaning up my eating, which was helping me connect spiritually more and more. And I've found to this day very much that my diet is directly connected to my ability to access spiritual stuff. It's like a doorway into the spiritual for me. So time passed, and I'm cleaning up my diet. I'm dabbling in and out, watching old workshops a little bit. Eventually got myself signed up for the e-group, and looked at that almost every day. I had a shortcut on my phone and just every day pull it up, scroll through it, see what people are talking about. I had been posting a couple things in it myself, getting a little bit of feedback from people about different things, which was great. Trying text again. I started doing the flame body stuff, which was cool. I really started to feel text more than ever at that point. Doing the flame body activations and plasma body activation stuff. I don't remember what. I think it was just like the flame body technique CD. I really was liking that a lot. So this was like November 2013 by now. And I just was, Googling Keylanthic science. And I found a website run by a woman that calls herself E-LAi. Her name's Angela Barnett. Her site was Cosmic Dolphin Fairy Magic. She and her husband have this band. It's Crystal Magic Orchestra, which I believe that's the name of their site now. If you Google Crystal Magic Orchestra, you can find her work. So pretty much what it was KS Step Down, and more Step Down than Lisa Renee's stuff, and I kind of dabbled in and out of that, but didn't really feel, it felt off to me. It just felt like, it felt not, it just didn't feel right. And so I found this other stuff, and I just wanted to understand this better, and I just had a hard time understanding all the details behind KS. Like, I could feel the frequencies, but just like all the, like, actually figuring out in 3D for myself was just mind-boggling. It was almost like it hurt my head because of how much I wanted to process at once, just because that's my nature. So yeah, it was KS Step Down a bit, and I really liked that. She has on her site frequency healing music, and I'm pretty sure she described it before I actually met her, the process to it. But what she does was she transcends density levels and goes out to like fifth density and records her breaths, like breathes the frequencies out into a microphone, and then she layers it over music. And at this time, weed was starting to become a problem. I was really heavily being pushed spiritually to quit smoking weed, and I mean, it was kind of hard. But then, you know, I'd piddled with that thought for a while, like a couple months, maybe a month, not a couple months, but a month, really heavily, like, okay, I need to, like, change. So I decided, after, you know, reading her stuff for a couple of months, this was probably like April of 2014, last year. So, like, actually probably a month or a year ago, year and 2 weeks ago, like right now, decided I was going to quit smoking, and I was going to try this frequency music, and I did, and it was actually a lot easier to quit smoking than I thought it was going to be, and I bought this music, and it really helped me immensely. I could feel it, just like I could feel KS techniques. It was very, very intense. I could feel it working all the time. Like, my life just started getting better and better and better, and it was almost like it was actually multiplying. Like, things were just going faster and faster and faster and getting better and better and better and healing more and more and more and more. Yeah, so I did that for a month or so and was in contact with her, and she was doing a workshop in California in Chico, or in Paradise. It ended up being in Chico in the end. So I went out to that. And so I'm going to touch on my experience with that now. So I get there, meet them, her and her husband, Joe, Angela and Joe. He calls him, his name's Adolfino, and she's E-LAi. So they were very, very nice, you know, on the outside. And I have to admit, you know, I just felt something was off, kind of, from the moment that I guess, yeah, like the first month, we went to a restaurant as soon as I got off the plane, picked me up, went to the Rice Bowl in Chico, awesome restaurant, by the way, amazing Chinese food, and sushi, and have the Howard chow mein if you ever go. But, yeah, so they started talking, and just, you know, I was getting red some flags. I mean, it wasn't like extreme flags, but there was flags going off. And we get to the house, you know, where we're going to stay. Beautiful, beautiful house in Chico we rented. We just started talking, and I think she was gauging me, like, the whole time. It seemed like, you know, she's trying to figure out what I really knew, which was cool, you know. I mean, if she's going to teach me a workshop. And I was the only one that actually attended this workshop, by the way. No one else even paid for it, which I didn't know until I got there. Or maybe a day or two before that. I was the only one actually coming to this workshop. So we wake up, start the workshop first day, and just kind of talked a while. She wasn't prepped to give, it was a week-long workshop. Was not prepped at all, in my opinion, to do a week of this, like a week of teaching KS, or a week of teaching like a step-down version of KS and like going through details and stuff. You know, and I always wanted to go to a real workshop, but there wasn't any, there was none that I thought they weren't going to have anymore or something because of what had happened with the shield split, with the speakers 2 and 3 thing. You know, I wasn't sure what was really going on with all that. And you know, I think they had had a couple since that happened, but I just wasn't sure if there was ever going to be any more. So I just chose to do this. I kind of jumped on it really fast. Like, I just do that. I just choose to do things extremely fast and react more than respond and take my time. It's just a thing I work on. I have to work on. But, yeah, so she wasn't really prepped to do 7 days. I mean, she probably could have been okay doing like 2. But, you know, we didn't really do much. I mean, I did learn some stuff about making ascension portals and more about the mechanics behind stuff, helping me with details. But she kept asking me what I wanted to know instead of just telling me and teaching and like giving a workshop. She kept just asking me, well, what do you want to learn? What do you want to learn? What do you want to know about? And it's like, man, I paid you, you know, $1,000 to come out here and give me this workshop for a week, and this is really not. I don't feel like this is worth my money, you know. And I'm keeping my mouth shut the whole time. And she starts, you know, my first huge red flag was she was playing something and talking about how she was saying in this thing she recorded how Merlin told her this, and she had contact with this being, and this told her this, and I'm like I'm in meditation, extremely deep meditation, like running tech, running energy, and she says in the middle of this, well, I just said that, you know, for marketing. That didn't really happen. And I was just like, my stomach just twisted in like half. Like, I wanted to throw up. And I opened my eyes, you know, obviously that just ruined my experience. I let it just completely screw up where I was at. And I just was like, okay. Pretty much looked at them all and was like, this was maybe the second day. Like, I'm going to go to bed now. I'm just tired. And I had just sat, pretty much opened an ascension portal, like right where I was sitting. And I mean, I was pretty much like levitating off the couch. Like, I was in extreme deep meditation. Felt like I wasn't sitting. Yeah, so that immediately like just threw me off for the rest of the entire trip. You know, and I didn't say anything, and I really should have. I guess I was afraid that if I opened my mouth, they were gonna like just take off, and I wasn't going to get anything else out of what I paid for, let alone my money back, because I thought about asking them for it back, or like just saying, can you give me like a majority of this back, because I'm not learning anything from this at all. And a blessing in disguise about that entire weekend. I mean, I could keep going into detail about stuff. I actually went to their house, and I helped them, teach them some stuff on Cubase and how to like do stuff with music production and do some techniques and do some automation with frequency stuff and like automate stuff so she could kind of like take what she was doing to another level. And that was cool. And you know, and I don't doubt, still to this day, do not doubt what she's doing. You know, her technique, what she does with the frequency stuff works. It does. It definitely affected me in a positive way. I guess I'll get into this in a minute, but big blessing in disguise is the woman that rented us the house was interested in taking the workshop, and they let her take it for free. So I guess someone else did kind of take it with me. She was in and out. She wasn't like present the whole time, like a student. She was just doing her own thing and stopping in and listening and taking it in. And she needed a website built for her, and I did build it for her. She asked me to do it, and it ended up like, I guess I'll go ahead and touch on it because it's related to KS. You know, like the mechanics of manifestation, how you actually manifest something, went from spirit to thought to feeling to matter to hologram. I mean, matter hologram. So I was leaving, and I wanted to explore San Francisco. I'd never been to California, I'm all excited. I'm in California, and I like got this last day, and I'm leaving at 5 o'clock to go to San Francisco to catch a flight out of San Francisco at 11 o'clock at night to go back to Chicago. So there's like 6 hours thereafter I'm at the airport, and that's not enough to leave and actually go explore San Francisco even a little bit. By the time I got out off one of the metro cars or whatever it is, I'm going to be having to go right back because it's going to take me an hour and a half, 2 hours to even really get anywhere. And so I decided to try to investigate a way to manifest myself the time to go explore San Francisco. And I called the airport, and they said that, they'd have to charge me $200 if I wanted to change my flight. And I'm like, well, I don't have that much cash. And ended up opening my wallet and checking my bank account. I had like $20 left to my name. So I'm like, all right, well, I'm just going to have to go back and that's how it's going to be. I kind of just let it go. I cast out what I wanted. I had thoughts of what I wanted, how I felt about it, and just kind of let it go. So that next day morning, which was the morning before the day I left, we're sitting around, and the lady that was hosting the house came and sat down. I'd helped her with some web stuff. She's like, well, I want you to make me 2 websites. And I'm like, okay, well, what you going to charge me? I told her. And I was like, thinking about it. I'm like, I wonder if, I'm getting started on this now. I wonder if she'd like actually give me a down payment, So I asked her, I'm like, could you pay me a little bit now? That would really help me out. She's like, yeah, sure. So when E-LAi-sa came back from the bank, she went and pulled out money to pay her for running the house. She pretty much just opened up the envelope and handed me $500. And I'm like, wow, sweet. All right, awesome. Like, I have cash now. And I was like, man, I thought about it again. I was like, I wonder if I can really maybe get to San Francisco now. So I'm thinking I'm going to call the airport in the morning and see if I can just get a standby flight. I think that's what they call it, where you just go in and say, I need to take an earlier flight. I'm going to the same place. I'm just going to switch my flight earlier. Went and literally flopped down on my stomach on the bed, grabbed my phone, because I always use it before I go to bed, check my email, check Facebook, like everybody does, technology, So I open my email, and there's this email from United. It says, we have a special offer for you. Please call us. And I'm looking at this like, this is a scam. And then I just had this feeling like, no, you should check this out. I'm like, oh, what's it going to hurt? So I called. The guy wanted to push my flight back an hour out of San Francisco, so I would actually be leaving at midnight instead of 11. And they wanted to pay me $100 to do it. And I was just like, well, sweet. I mean, I don't have to be in Chicago. My flight doesn't leave Chicago to Peoria until 8 a.m. So it doesn't matter if I leave San Francisco at 12. I mean, I'm going to have to sit in Chicago. I'll have to sit in Chicago for less time. Plus, I really liked SFO. Way cool airport. Way, way, way better than Chicago. I mean, the city's awesome compared to Chicago. It's not all chaotic and crazy. It's real smooth and flowy out there. So that was like sweet. And I asked this guy, I'm like, hey, could you pull my Chico flight earlier so I can actually like get to SFO by after noontime? He's like, yeah, how's like 1 o'clock? I'm like, perfect, that's 10 hours. Like, I have 10 hours in San Francisco. I got $500 in my pocket. Dang, sweet. Totally just worked out and manifested this. And like, that was my first real lesson in directly seeing how my thoughts and feelings and stuff manifest stuff in my life. And, related it all to chaos. That's why I was there. I was there for that workshop to learn this stuff, to learn manifestation mechanics. And, it was just like, dang, this is sweet. And, to go back, I did learn some things from her and Joe. I really liked her husband a lot. We connected on a music level to a very deep level. Part I didn't like about a lot of it was she kept trying to like get him to stop talking. She'd be like, and he would be sorry, like saying sorry, sweetie, sorry. Like she didn't want him to say something because she felt like he was gonna blow their cover. That's the energetic thing I was getting, was like they're running a scam kind of thing. So that threw me off the whole weekend anyway. So I didn't tell them that I felt like this. I'm giving them grace. I can't really do that. I don't like confronting people like that. Now I've learned to be more tactful and actually, do the kind of say things and really question what's going on. It was a good lesson in that for me. Huge. I spent a lot of money on it. So, yeah. So yeah, that whole Chico experience was great. Being in Chico anyway, it was awesome. California was awesome. San Francisco was awesome. I got to go to Fisherman's Wharf and have clam chowder. It was awesome. Uh, so yeah, I'm sorry that this is like getting way off topic a bunch. I feel like I need to be detailed. I'm a detail oriented person, so yeah. So I get back home. I stayed in communication with them. I rewrote their website, a couple pages on it, and like helped them upgrade stuff, and was like doing all this, out of the kindness of my heart. Like I wasn't asking them for money or anything. I think they maybe bought me dinner once and like helped me with groceries, like $20, and I meant to pull money out of my card and actually pay them back, and I did. And they never asked me for it again, and I honestly should have given it to them. And that was a mistake that I made. I should have, done what I said I was going to do and paid them back, but I didn't. And I was going to the very last day too. I was going to pay for we went out to Rice Bowl again, and I was going to pay for the food, and they didn't let me. They just paid for it, and I was just like, okay, well, you must not want that $40 or whatever. So, and this is just me kind of being like, I don't know, small, I guess, with myself and money and stuff. I was kind of still working on getting over things. It had only been a month since I quit smoking, so there was a lot of stuff coming up to work on that I had stuffed away with weed. Anyways, so I get home, and I'm looking back at these, the healing frequency music she does was advertised as individuated healing stuff. Individuated frequencies for you, designed for you. Like she tapped into me and went up density 5 and did these breaths relating to my codes, which, I believed all this, that she was actually doing this. And I went back and looked at my emails, what she had sent me, and she shared this stuff on Google Drive. And, I'm a tech. Like, that's what I do for my job, and I have since I can't even remember when I didn't ever work with technology. Like, I've done it all my life, ever since I was very little. I've been technological intuitive, my buddy Isaac calls it. So I'm looking at the dates on these files that she shared, and they dated before I ever even paid for my first, what she calls an individuated eternal life album. So I'm like, oh my goodness, huge red flag. Like, did I even ever get what I ever paid for? Obviously I'm thinking, all this is going back to all the doubts I had about the whole thing, so I kind of got, I might have been a little snappy. I probably really honestly wasn't. And what I said, I had every right to be, say it in the way that I did. So I did. I questioned everything, and she was like, what's wrong with you? Like, what's going on with you today? Like, pretty much, I'm accusing her of, like, not being honest with me. I kept asking her, tell me the truth. Like, did you really create this for me uniquely, or did you just send me something you already had? And I finally eventually got her to admit to me that she did. She does just generally send people random general tracks, but she was fiddling around with her words, and I could tell, like I said, I'm super intuitive. I can just feel people. I'm like telepathic and psychic, I guess, too, or whatever you want to call it. Like, I just know when somebody's not telling me the truth, because I know what the truth is. And it just threw me off. So we kind of fought a bit. I told her if she didn't publicly, like, tell people that she wasn't really doing this, like she was just because I communicated with other people too. I did interviews out there with her and with that other lady. She ran her website she ran called Journey of Awe. Did interviews with both of them, and she posted these. So all these people were contacting me personally saying, loved your interview, loved your perspective. I told that story that I told about March 17th, like how I got into KS. Pretty much did this kind of same interview then, and people were really like, it was helping them. Like, they were enthused, and they were all telling me, oh, this has pushed me to actually buy my Eternal Life album, because I was just like ranting and raving about how these frequencies helped me out. And I was just like getting sick, like, man, these people, I don't want them to spend this money, like, if this isn't right, this is not, she's being dishonest. So I told her, like, she needed to admit it, or I was going to make a video. And because I didn't tell her that, what I was going to do, but I had, access to her website. So she didn't, and, like, kind of cut contact with me, stopped responding. So I went and exported the entire email contact list of all, like, there was probably, like, 2,200 members on her site, maybe. And I made a YouTube video, uploaded it, and sent a link to and a letter to every single email address that was on there, and pretty much told them to watch my video. And my video is still up on my YouTube channel, actually, about my experiences with that. and how it was kind of just forged. It was never really recorded on those dates. Um, I mean, and to go even further, to be completely honest, like they had their laptop there the whole time, and I was using it to burn like all these copies of RAM the workshops, and she let me copy some older KS stuff that she had and take it home so I could study it, and she kind of gifted that to me. And I was kind of piddling around on the computer and opened up a couple folders and saw that, all these files, like, never had anybody's names on it. She would just send people these random tracks she had already made. It was never individuated for that person. I mean, maybe you could individuate it by just saying, well, this one's for that person, this frequency is for that person, but it wasn't like it was advertised, and that was false advertisement, which didn't sit right with me. So I did that, and then she kind of smeared my name really wrong. Told her to take down the videos off of her site, which she's still got them up on her new site. And I don't really care now. It's kind of like, well, I did that. I'll let people ride with that. It's whatever. The stuff does work. I'm not going to say that it doesn't work. I even said that in my interview, or not my interview, but that video I made. I said that, this does work. I mean, it's not like it was false completely. Like, it actually worked for me a little bit. So yeah, that's when that all ended. That was extremely, like, a long story. It was like the first one. So I apologize if that was like too long or anything for anyone. So yeah, that ended, and I kind of just went back to just looking at KS on my own and the e-group. Kind of just cut that part off completely. So after that, I was working on that website for Zolda, and that was working really well and great. And I posted in the e-group that I wanted some help. I was just kind of reaching out, like, man, I got all these computer skills. I can do stuff on my own, but I really want to be of service more. Like, I just want to use my skills. I want to do something. I want to do something so bad. I just don't want to sit around and just piddle around on the computer all day. I want to work. I want to interact with people. I want to do something. And I hadn't worked in 5 years. I mean, I just did drugs and, like, really screwed my life up really bad. So, this guy Josh. He responded to me and needed help with the website for himself. And we connected. He was actually going to the last live workshop that they had, which I think was August last year. And it was like a week before it was going on. He was getting married and then going to the workshop for his honeymoon, which was awesome, I thought. So he came back and we connected and clicked up, and he talked about the workshop and what he wanted to do with his site and stuff, and it's awesome. And he did affirmations, and he does these affirmation tracks, helps people like record affirmations for themselves, and he layers them with some music that they choose, or he can choose for you, whatever. And you listen to the track in the morning and at night. And so we traded services. I helped him with the site, and he did an affirmation track for me. And 3 days in to this track, one of my affirmations was, first time I noticed something changed. One of my affirmations was, I eat small and balanced meals and I'm fully satisfied and satiated afterwards, because I had like this binge eating thing, which I still fight with to this day. It's better, much better. And I've significantly like tuned up my body, and I feel so much relief. Still working on it. Life is work in progress. So yeah, but anyways, the first time I noticed, 3 days after that, I was eating a bowl of rice that I cooked, and like, I'd be eating. You finish a bowl of something and immediately want to run back to the kitchen and refill a bowl. And I stood up to do it, and I stopped myself. I like stepped in between my normal response or my normal reaction, and like was given an opportunity to respond differently. Like, I was giving myself an opportunity. And I was like, whoa, what is this? And kind of just immediately, higher parts of myself were just like, instead of the affirmation, I'm like, wow, this is seriously working. And this was September by this time. And one of my other affirmations was I wanted to get a job, to like be of service to other people and use my skills and whatnot. And I don't remember exactly what it was word for word, but by the 18th 17th of September, 18th was officially when I got told. But 2 weeks in, like maybe a little bit more than 2 weeks in, I think it was just 2 weeks in, I got a job, like a really good one, paid way more than I thought I was going to get paid. Uh, got to do exactly what I wanted to do with my skills. Got to teach people so much. I got to set up, help this business out immensely, like with their processes and procedures, and just applied myself and just shine my light. And like, it was awesome. It was an amazing experience. And I actually just, not to mention, or to mention this too, like I didn't have a license or a car since 2011. Again, drugs, getting in trouble, screwed that up. So I got my car back and a license within 30 days of getting this job. Like 180 to everything. It was just plus, 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 you know. And like actually a week ago yesterday was my last day at that job. I got offered another job, which coincidentally enough is in the town that I live. I don't have to commute, half an hour to work and back, half an hour there, half an hour back every day. There's no weekends at this job, and it's $6 more an hour. I had just recently tuned out my affirmations track and said something like, one of my affirmations now is I'm successfully scaling the corporate ladder, and let me tell you, it is working. Like I'm in a corporate environment now. Like I'm excelling in the first week of my job, learning stuff extremely fast. Like I can't even imagine where this is going to take me. So yeah, and so further than that, this is my first workshop, the one that's going on right now. First actual live workshop. It's blowing my mind how like it's being extended out. Like this is crazy, and like all the frequencies coming in, like I can, I'm feeling this. Like I can just tune in right through the sun. It is absolutely the most amazing thing, and I just like I'm glowing and flying and floating everywhere. It's crazy, awesome, crazy awesome, loving it. And texts now, like these texts in this workshop, most strongest I've ever experienced myself. Like I can, like it was crazy when we did the first projection, when they showed the picture of the path, and you like walked the path up to the Buddha statue. My friend mentioned it to me first, my friend Josh that did the affirmation tracks for me, but I had the same. I'm going to tell you kind of what he told me of his experience. This is very similar. It actually like really made me remember because you're supposed to project yourself onto the path, and before I had so much trouble really like separating that from my thought. I couldn't like get out. Like it was just like I was just thinking about it, and I wasn't really like doing it. I felt like, but this projection was just like bam. Like the first time I even thought about it, I could just put myself right in the screen, and I was aware of myself in the screen and myself sitting at my computer the whole time. I could feel both consciousnesses, experience and feel in both places. And I kind of just cut myself out because I just stopped. I didn't push it further because I felt like, hey, I'm going to wait for her to come on. She's going to come on soon. When's she going to come on? When's she going to come on? So, I fell asleep with my headphones in with the water sound playing that night, waiting for her to come on, but she never did. I'm sure you know. So if you're attending the workshop, you know at least. So to tell you his experience, to summarize it in briefly, he did the same thing. Walked to the right of the path, went through some door. I don't remember exactly what he said. I think it was some kind of orb, and he like put a door on it. It wasn't at first, but he made a door happen. Opened the door, and there's seating and all these people, and there's a speaker like on the stage in this big, huge auditorium like place, and like there's like a workshop going on there. And he really can't understand what was being said, but it was almost like it was pretty much exactly like he told me. He thought, this is where we're going for workshops. We're supposed to project ourselves here for the workshops. We don't have to like listen to somebody give it. You can just go and take it. And that resonated with me pretty deeply. And I'm just like, man, that is so cool. So, yeah. KS is just magic now. It's just like knowing, the structure of stuff, knowing how the things come into manifestation, how stuff flows, how you can pop out through different places and planes and areas, and move around. It's beautiful. I appreciate it every day. It's the most amazing thing that's ever happened to me, or found me, or however you want to look at it. It's beautiful. I use it every day to help others understand what's happening with their lives. Like, people ask me for assistance, and because I'm so positive, and I guess I just shine really bright, and people can tell, so they ask for help, and I can tell them easily, like, well, this is why this is happening, because this thought or feeling, you're doing this in this way, and the mechanics of this, you're making these wheels spin in this way, and it's actually making this happen for you like this. You have to go up and change. People externalize stuff a lot. I do it a tiny bit. I try not to. I'm way better at it now than I ever was before. I'm getting better at it every day still. People like to externalize stuff though, and I can help them see that it's just them, and if they switch, the reality manifests differently in front of them physically. So yeah, and I help on myself every day too. I can, like I was saying, I don't externalize stuff as much as I can. I always trace it back to myself, which lets me live in peace, because I can just shift it for myself, and it's amazing. So yeah, I guess that pretty much summarizes it up there at the end. I appreciate the time on the interview. I went way longer than I thought I was going to, but I felt like it was all needed to be documented in good details. So thanks a lot, Chris.
Well, I'd first like to thank Stefan for sharing with us. It's very courageous to step forward and, just go there in your story and in your life, and the trauma, all the things that we need to heal right now. And I would also like to put out an invitation for everybody just to have this as an open, questioned interview, and open to taking anyone's ideas on what to ask Stefan. I wanted to do this in this type of format to have more versatility in my interviewing, and just get a wider range of types of questions to ask, to kind of use for other guests also. So anybody who's open to sending suggestions of what I should ask and what directions to take it, just go right ahead, and I will go ahead and get started on that. Alright, thanks for listening, guys, and thanks for sharing, Stefan. Bye.
Blog Talk Radio.
One blood, one mind, one life divine. One mind, one heart, shall never part. One heart, one sight, brings in the light. One light, one love, Christ our above. One love, one kiss, breathes in the mist. One breath, one sigh, one kiss and I. One eye, one prism, one crystal vision. Amina, our eyes, embrace you and eternal Christ did love light, Amina, 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 Amina.
All right, we are live. Welcome to the first live episode of KS Reality Check. This is Chris. I'll be your host today. Hopefully we'll have many other hosts in the future. I'm very open to having other people help support this, And we have with us right now Stephen Edward Redding. I'd like to welcome you to the show. Are you there, Stephen?
Yeah, I'm here.
All right, I can hear you. Cool. This is the first time I've ever done this, so it's a little different. Well, I'd like to thank you first off for the preface you did yesterday. If you guys haven't heard it yet, I would just strongly suggest you listen to that one first before this one, because Stephen goes into a lot of detail about his life and the experience leading up to KS and everything. And I would just like to expand on some of that. So, Stephen, what was the biggest thing that kind of helps you with the DNA assembly after the drug use and everything?
Well, I want to say first, it's actually Stefan, not Stephen.
Stefan. Sorry about that. Stefan.
It's okay. No worries. In my opinion, probably the biggest thing that helped me.
Is there certain techniques or anything? Like you mentioned that
really
you did flame body. No.
Yeah, I did do some of those techs. I can't really say specifically that in particularly helped me more or less than anything else I was doing at the time. Just the studying and knowing in my mind that I was getting better, that things were getting better, was probably the hugest thing. I had a lot of energy work sessions with like Reiki healers and other people, just doing different kind of intuitive energy stuff. That did help a lot too.
It sounds like it was kind of a mixture. Like you're doing Reiki healers also, like sessions with them with KS while you're doing flame body also.
Right. Yeah, and I didn't particularly do techs all the time. I kind of just dabbled in and out a lot. And even now, I really don't. I don't run. I don't run techs every day or anything, or I'm not too super. I do them, every once in a while, or when I'm attending a workshop, I'll do them then.
Okay. Have you ever been to a workshop?
This is my first one, the one that's going on right now. I never went to an actual physical one. Yeah, but the online one I'm participating in now.
Yeah.
Speaking on techniques, the techniques from this latest workshop are probably the strongest I've ever done, ever felt. We did a projection with our true body, and it was pretty much the first time I was actually able to separate or kind of actually bilocate completely to where I could feel myself fully in another part of my anatomy and be completely aware of myself in the physical aspect as well.
Yeah, that seems to be that seems to be the theme of the work, is the bilocation thing. I've noticed that's run throughout even the old work and the new work, is always just having that awareness, that consciousness of being able to separate from this density and go beyond. And the question that came to mind before was, like, how would people really know the difference if they're having an astral body experience or a plasma body or a trua or all these different bodies that we're learning of? Because phenomenon is just so, it can be such an intense experience that to be able to put all that together to know exactly what density you're having the experience on is kind of, that's always been kind of a stigma for me in KS, I guess.
I think the easiest way for me to tell is just the way it feels. The physical, the first density level is obviously more dense. It's thicker, and that's kind of how I can tell. When you start to move up,
right.
The 4th, 5th, and 6th it's kind of like your dream state. I mean, sometimes you can go beyond that to like 7, 8, and 9. It just gets more etheric. Things lose mass, and it just, to me, it seems like that's a good way to be able to tell. I don't really think I've had any experiences, like at least I can remember, when I've been incarnated here this time, with anything beyond 7, 8, and 9. I can see what that would look like, I guess.
Does it just get lighter as you go up? Like the astral is just a little bit less thick than this, and you're just kind of, you're pretty close to home here. Yeah, pretty much. And then I think as higher it goes, it just gets to be pretty much, just lightened down at some point, and just you don't really see. It's interesting too, because there's also, it's supposed to be as real as here too. I've noticed, like she's kind of explained it that way, that it kind of densifies in these other realms, and you're doing what's called the translocation thing, and that's kind of the object of the whole thing, is to make that as real as this, if I'm not mistaken. Has that been your idea of it, of the work?
I mean, yeah, it definitely does. It definitely is real. I mean, when you're in your dreams, you can't really, like when you fall asleep at night, you don't really know you're not. You don't think you're dreaming sometimes when you're not lucid. Obviously, it feels real. So I could see. Right. But when you think back, just like you think back about yesterday when you were, in the physical, you can't really tell the difference between a dream and a memory. Like, it's the same kind of thing, in my opinion. Yeah. But when you think about those memories from the dream state, stuff it seems a little bit lighter when you're comparing it, at least.
All right.
In my opinion.
Okay. So I guess there hasn't been any particular technique that stood out for you that was just stood out more than others? Like, did you do any of the sliders? Did you just do flame body and then jump to the new work now?
Pretty much, yeah. I did the couple techniques on the E-LAi-sa website, the ones they ask you to do before jumping into any new stuff. I guess maybe like going back to the flame body stuff. No, I never could really. I needed to listen to somebody else say it out loud before I could do it. It just would help. It just helps me to do that, and I never really got that piece yet. But I'd like to be able to do that. Going back to the flame body stuff, I think there is one technique where you make this sort of room. You go to this place with all these rooms with all these doors in them, and then you can kind of like label the doors and explore the doors. And I'm not sure if that's in the Flame Body Technique Activation CD or not, or where I got that one.
Is there a staircase?
There might be.
Go up a staircase or something? Okay.
Maybe like go down a staircase. Maybe that's what it was.
Yeah, I think there's one where you go up and one where you go down, because it's basically flame bodies connecting like those three ducts to the Cathara grid, the E-LAi-sa and the Azure and the pineal. That's pretty much. I was just looking over it the other day and just kind of seeing what the main goal of it is in these meditations or what you're doing, and those seem like to be the three major points that you're connecting and that kind of activating and turning on. And then at the end of it, you got the Amaria buffer, and it's kind of like an amped up Maharic shield type thing.
Right.
So you mentioned that you were of Phim lineage. I wanted to expand on that, because you hear a lot of people in KS that just say with so much confidence, like what lineage they're from, or what spirit family, I guess you called. Just how are you able to discern that? Like what made you know that that's a...
I've kind of had that same, noticed the same thing. People that are able to real easily identify stuff like that. I can't really, go into elaborate detail on it. I just know that when I was, I have listened and read up, read through the Keylontic Dictionary and listened to E-LAi-sa speak about lineages. It's just what draws the most cellular memory for me. Like I can see pictures and see it kind of rings to me that's correct. I mean, I can't go into super crazy detail, but it just sticks out the most to me than anything else. And that's kind of how I know most of anything, with my intuition. I guess I've just been practicing tuning it in, honing it in for so long that when I feel something ring like that, I know that that's pointing me.
Maybe you could explain, because not everybody's going to be familiar with what Orifim is. Maybe you could explain what that is and what qualities of Orifim ring true for you. Like when she was explaining it, I forget what workshop that was. I think it's been in Sliders 12 or something. Definitely in the newer stuff.
From what I can remember, like I said, I can't really go into too much detail with it. I have a memory of being popped out of time before I chose to come back here. And when I heard her mention it the first time, it was just kind of that's the first thing that came into my mind was that memory. And every time I heard it, Orifim, that's what I thought about, was the group of people I was with there in that space and that period, or that moment in my memory.
It sounds kind of like an activation or something. Like just kind of some cellular memory or something just opened up for you.
Right, it just kind of triggered it, definitely.
Yeah. Yeah, I've definitely had my share of experiences with that, just listening to some of the workshops, and it's just one thing that she'll say, and I'll just pop in something, just kind of from a long lost dream ago or something, or another lifetime, and then I embody it and just remember it, and it just is true, it becomes true here.
Right.
A lot of that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's exactly how it works. So
you had mentioned that in the preface you were talking about how there was police that came up to. Was that on your property?
Yes.
The part that you were mentioning about your mom.
My mom's house.
Now I was trying to discern the difference, because it sounded like you just went on a trip when you said that they were burying your mom, or digging up dirt and putting your mom in it, or what was that?
Yeah. So the whole entire night up until that, the whole entire that I could recall up until that point, after I took substances I did, I pretty much just was blacking in and out, and I don't really have any memory of anything, aside from when I was sitting, I was talking about sitting on my stove. For whatever reason, I was sitting on my stove, and I remember that part. I remember another part where I was really having a rough time, just slipping in and out of reality, just losing consciousness. And one of my friends was there with my brother, and he was asking me, "Are you all right?" But beyond that, I just was pretty much black the whole time that was going on, until I got to my deck, or till I kind of came to there. And then it was I kind of closed my eyes for a minute, or after the policeman had asked me that, and I saw that happen. And I've kind of taken that now as just, Source showing me what was really going on, because I wasn't blacked out. I wasn't blacking in and out anymore at that point. I sort of started to come back and be aware of my physical surroundings again. So I kind of just took that as communication from my hologram, or, from everything around me, as to what exactly I was doing at the time. And I just took it as I was making choices that were hurting other people, that were creating chaos for other people. That's kind of the message I got from that, seeing that happen.
So it was all
after
an
I reviewed
illusion.
it. That was, yes. I mean, that's
Okay.
at the time, like right after that had happened, I didn't think that. I was really confused. And, this is all I'm speaking about, going back and analyzing it all after it happened. But when I was in, that moment, I didn't think that. I kind of had it. I felt like, I'm causing chaos for other people. I need to go apologize and fix this problem. But I didn't think about it until, I went and checked, and I wasn't really sure. I was like, I thought I was in hell. I mean, I thought I died and I went to hell. That's what I really thought.
So it felt like a real realm shift or something. Like stuff was happening around you. You said you saw like a devil cop with the tail and everything. Yeah. Your mom getting buried. It was like you're in some hell realm or something from the drugs.
Pretty much.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, I thought I really died. I mean, I thought that.
Do you think that could possibly? So we have a little bit of lag time. Sorry, I'm kind of talking over you. Do you think that could possibly be the intro part to people that actually do go into those realms and then they just die, like you're gradually dying and starting to enter into a lower astral realm or something? You think that's like the beginning of it? Definitely.
That could be for sure. I mean, that definitely sounds like it could. Yeah, that rings true for me for sure.
Because I've had my share of experience. Like I was telling you before, like your story is very similar to mine. I've had my share of drug use and the lower realm stuff, and it wasn't quite as extreme where I was having like vivid hallucination type stuff like that, but it was very, surreal type things that were happening around me, but it was all just like mental, it was all like just full of myself about it. Just total illusion.
Yeah, that's definitely a huge part of it for me too.
So, when exactly did you come into the work? What year was it?
It would have been the end of 2012.
2012, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Right after
the end
the
of 2012. Split. Not right after, because I think that happened in May. This was probably, it was colder outside.
So did you witness the split? Because that's kind of what my next questions were going to be about, was the whole split.
No, I didn't know. I think that E-LAi work, that Secrets of Lemuria and Ancient E-LAi workshop was pretty old. I can't say exactly what year that. Yeah, so that was the first one I ever really heard, aside from the Architects of Light and Secrets of the Indigo Children. So what I did was, once I listened to that, the files were labeled MCEO Azurite Team, and so I just Googled that, and that's how I found the rest of the work. I just was drawn to the title. I was looking through torrents and just researching things about Lemuria and Atlantis, and I found that, and that the title, obviously, I just had all these things downloaded. I was just downloading all sorts of stuff and going through it later, and I just found that on my computer and decided to listen to it one day, and from there researched what MCEO was and kind of got into it like that.
So did you get active like in the groups, the social media, everything? Did you get on Indigos or the e-groups or anything?
I got into the Google group, yeah, but that wasn't until a bit later when I kind of figured out, because I was just trying to find the community of these people to see if this was even still going on.
Right.
I was just trying to figure all that out, but then eventually found the e-group.
Okay. All right. I guess we'll go ahead and take our first break here. It's coming up on close to half an hour here, and we'll be back in just a couple minutes. Thanks.
Right. Yep.
seasons change and tides will flow on the shores of which we know the time has new meaning and love can only grow. Music, hear the melodies of the voices of those who know your names. The faces may be unknown to you, but the message is still the same. In life and death, we all are one. Division's not as once supposed. Even in the darkest night, you are not alone. The love we send from compassion comes. To understand is then to love. In our voice the echoes of others yet unknown. Of others yet unknown. In life and death we all are one. Division's not as once supposed, but even in the darkest night, you are not alone. Even in the darkest night, you are not alone. You are not alone.
All right, we're back with Stefan here on KS Reality Check. And Stefan, I had a quick question to ask you about what would you say to people that are out there right now in that condition that you were in on the drugs, struggling with it, and just kind of lost and searching and trying to find their way? What message would you have for those people right now?
The biggest thing I could say is that when you go digging for things like that, that if you're searching, trying to figure stuff out, the only intelligence, that can open that door for you is the FE field. The source as a whole, you are inside of that field, and you are not the whole field yourself. So if you want to know something, there's a proper way to go about it, a safe way to go about it, and just accepting that and letting that and using that and working with that, kind of co-creating the doorways to the answers for yourself rather than just trying to force them open. It's a much more peaceful, easier path. That's what I have found. And
usually on drugs, you're like in seek hyperdrive, just trying to find the answers right now. Like, I need it now.
Yep.
Yeah.
And on top of that, the mental plane. I'm a very big thinker. I'm a very big mental kind of person. Some people are more emotional than mental. You can work with that too, though. The way everything steps down, spirit to mental to emotional to physical matter. Using that piece, just that that whole model of the mechanics of how stuff manifests, can be of great help as well. That's probably the biggest part of KS, for me, that I use every day, is that model of how everything steps down like that, and just knowing that if I change my mind and then change how I feel about something, my physical reality does change.
Right. Yeah. That's what I was about to ask you about. Are you still manifesting as you were? Because in the preface you mentioned that you you had like you have this back-to-back manifestation streak going with the plane ticket and everything. So is it still?
It's. I mean, it happens. Bigger things take longer, and I think being in new environments is a huge thing too, because you have no familiar surroundings, so you're not like, you kind of sometimes get locked in thinking patterns from being in familiar surroundings because you've been there for so long. So in the town that I live in, it may not work as fast, but I mean, within the last 7 months, I mean, I've completely like shifted everything in my life around like tremendously. And I mean, that was last year in June that I went to California, so it hasn't even been a year yet since that happened, and my life has completely changed. I mean, I didn't have a license or a car, I didn't have a job, I didn't have my own place to live. I was still living at my mom's, you know, and in the last since then I have changed all of that. I've been driving again. Just got my own place.
Got your own
2 weeks
place
ago.
Oh,
yeah,
sweet.
I got a great job. I've just actually left a great job for an even better job, which was more money an hour, no weekends, and it's in the town that I live, so there's no commute. It's just, things just keep getting better and better and better and better all the time.
That's when you know you got it, when you're just like on that up spiral and stuff just keeps going. The big thing for me is like maintaining that, you know, because I'm able to reach that point, but then it kind of flickers, you know, it kind of goes off and on. So it's just the consistency in life I'm seeing that's so precious, you know, to develop. But once you got it, you know, that's good. Good to hang on to.
Yeah, I definitely have had similar moments where I felt, you know, kind of get frustrated a little bit. You're like, well, this worked before, you know, why is this not working now? And there it is, right there. There was your answer. As you just admitted it. You just said, why is this not working right now? You know, you're thinking that it's not working. So you just kind of have to, you know, hold that resonance of what you want to happen, and know, and just shift to a knowing instead of a hoping that this is going to happen, and then just kind of let it go. And it just, the California thing still kind of blows me away. I mean, I have little things happen like that, but that was pretty quick, huge manifestation.
The state of knowing. Yeah, that's absolutely right. Just kind of, as soon as you doubt yourself or just bring in doubt in something, it just kind of throws a monkey wrench in the whole manifestation process, I guess.
Absolutely, because your doubt is you thinking that it's not going to work. So you're thinking that thought, and then you have a feeling about that thought, which in turn is going to manifest into your reality. And then I guess on top of that, you know, what's you're seeing in front of your eyes, you know, people look and they're like, well, this isn't here yet, this isn't here yet, this isn't here yet. And that's because your physical is what's already manifest. If you're trying to bring something new in, it's obviously not going to be there yet unless it was there. So you have to just hold that vision of it being there and think that and feel how it would feel to already have it there, and then it just shows up.
Right. Just kind of switch gears a little bit. I wanted to bring up the Reiki thing because a lot of people in KS will, if you mention Reiki, not everybody in KS would say that that's in alignment with the KS techniques and the teachings with that. What would you say to people that, you know, say that might be like a fallen path or something? Because when Kathara came out, there was a big diversity between, you know, the old workshops. She would mention how, you know, some of the Reiki stuff is not all complete, I guess.
Well, yeah, I think that was just it. It's just that it's not complete. You know, it's not that it works on its own level. Actually, if you go back and look at the workshops when she was still doing stuff out of her apartment in New York, I can't really say exactly which ones they were, but she even said, you know, it's one of the Kasara.
Amenti series?
Yeah, it might be. It might be. I think it's the Kathara healing, like some of the first Kathara healing ones. She says, you know, do this first, do the Kathara healing stuff first, and then go on top of it with the Reiki. She was kind of all for it, in my opinion. She wasn't.
Is that what you
I
were
never
doing?
really have got. Eventually, and I do that now when I do healing. Yes, I start with the Kathara grid, and then I work on top of that. Reiki kind of sits on top of that. Kathara goes much deeper.
Yeah. Well, it's like the Maharic Shield, the 12D thing, because, I mean, for so long it was like anything beneath, what was it, 11.5 frequency was going to mess you up. It had, you know, not the right, a lot of it had agendas behind it, you know. So
right, yeah.
You always want to pull up your Maharic Shield first before doing anything, yeah.
Yeah, right. And I do. I kind of like walk around with it on all the time, just walk around with a pillar of light around me all the time, I feel like.
You still do the Maharic Shield. Okay.
No,
see, now
just kind
that's
of like
big...
visually, not really like, I'm not really running it like that. I just kind of know it's there, know I'm protected, know I have a shield around me. I don't really like get into too much detail with it like that, because then I think that's where it sorts can throw people off for all the details.
That's kind of a big thing, actually, right now in the group. I should say groups, because after the split, there's a lot of differing views on new work, old work type thing. So people would say, you know, you got to do the Maharic Shield still, you know, you got to still do the old work and maintain all these older things that we learned in sliders. But then there's other people that would say, no, you just need the new stuff. The plasmas is all you need. So, I mean, it's kind of interesting to get different views on that, people that are still doing the old stuff, because, you know, what she says is basically that the plasmas are, it's going to be the fast way to get to where you need to go, and the old stuff is kind of the slower way, I guess.
I would agree. It's just because those frequencies are newer, and everything that comes in that's new encompasses everything that was from the past as well. So if you just start with the newest stuff, you're getting everything. I think that's kind of how I look at it.
Do you still see the old stuff as valid? Like, it's still needing maintained? Like, you still got every once in a while pull up a Maharic Shield, or do, you know, some flame body, like maintenance type stuff on your anatomy? Or do you think plasma just coats everything?
I think it just coats everything. I think it just
coats it all.
It works. Yeah, it just works with all. It just kind of brings it all in at once.
Right, I get that feeling too. Like when it was first introduced, it just felt all encompassing. Like, this is covering my whole entire anatomy. You know, this is like a sheath. But lately, I've been really drawn to going back into it. My wife just started flame body, so it's interesting to see her experience with that, and just how it's uncluttering all the astral debris and stuff that needs processed, the karmic clusters and things. So I mean, from my experience with it, that was probably one of the hugest, was doing flame body. So, you know, having that in mind, it's like something that's always dear in my heart, to always want to go back and re-experience that again, you know. But the plasmas was like another landmark too. I can kind of see both angles of it, actually.
Yeah, I would agree. I think, you know, everything, you know, everything's definitely very useful for anybody, you know, and everybody's different too. So some people might just gravitate towards one over the other. I'm very open, and I definitely, you know, like to go back and review older stuff as well. I definitely don't shun any of it out. You know, I just keep open to any possibility.
All right. So are you that active in the group, like with members in the group? Have you met many people? Is there any people in your local area?
There's nobody actually in my local area at all, really, even found anyone in the same state. As far as who I've reached out to, one person reached out to me. His name is Joshua. He's from Washington. He lives in Washington State, and we've had a great relationship. I mentioned him in the preface about the affirmation tracks, and that's been a huge piece. I mean, literally within a month of doing that, I had a job, and then another month I had a car, and I mean, it's just been a continuous climb upwards ever since I started doing those, just affirming in my mind and visualizing, you know, what I want, and it happens.
You had mentioned was it like a married couple that were selling the music that's supposed to be like personalized for your healing type thing? It's kind of like a scam type thing.
Well, I can't really say that it's completely like just she was being dishonest about the way that she wasn't being transparent.
Entirely honest.
Yeah, she wasn't being transparent about it.
Transparent.
And it worked.
Yeah.
I mean, it definitely worked. It definitely helped me heal DNA, for sure. And it was very strong. I mean, it definitely was working. I could feel myself healing, and things were getting better and better, and stuff started to speed up when I was doing those, listening to those frequencies. And I mean, pretty much all it
Was she able to see her? Was she able to see her higher lesson in it and to come clean with it? And do you think she had her own evolution in it, growing?
I don't think so. As far as I know, she's still doing the same thing she was, and I don't know if it's
really.
She's more
What's her name
transparent about
again?
it. She switched her website. It's E-LAi, or Angela Barnett is her actual incarnate name.
Okay. I'd like to say that loud and clear.
So it's crazy because she had a website, and she had made me an administrator on it, because when I went out there and met them, that's what I do, is technology is my career, and I'm really good at it. And so I helped her with her site, and I think I said about posting that video. I did because she wasn't being transparent. I told her, I was like, please just admit to everybody really what you're doing here, because I know that you're not telling the truth. And
right.
And she didn't. So I sent that video out to everybody, and I think it probably caused a huge amount of people to stop following her. So she switched to a different site. I don't know if that was the entire reason.
Oh,
but I'm
really?
pretty sure
So she's got a new site up.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, the old one came down, and she kind of rebranded it a little bit.
Incredible. Wow. Do you think she's doing the same thing, or do you know? Or
I looked at the new site, and it's individuated eternal life album, and it's, my experience personally was not individuated. I mean, she sent me, I paid for something like May 2nd or 3rd, and she shared with me what was supposed to be my individuated eternal life album shortly after I paid for it. But I went back after the workshop and looked, and the files were dated April 25th. So I don't know how how she made that for me brand new and uploaded it in April. That didn't make any sense.
Yeah.
So I wanted her to admit to me, if she really did or not. And she did tell me that she tried to say, sometimes I just send people this in the beginning, and then I redo this for them. But that's not what. That wasn't honest, in my opinion, and I didn't feel very good about that.
I really think it's fascinating how many businesses like this kind of orbit around the teachings, and it's just like they kind of take what they can from the teachings and rehash it, put their own mix on it, and then put a price tag on it, and are making bank on it too, because there is an essence of truth still in their work, though it's not the core of the work. And it's kind of maddening for me to see that just over and over and over. I mean, there's so many people doing this. Yeah,
she's making, I don't know if she still is, but was making quite a bit of money off that too. I mean, she was charging like $300, $500 an album or something like that.
Jeez.
And had lots and lots of followers. So and I took it too as more of like she just wants a following. Wasn't really
so like
100%.
Ego.
Yeah, it was just like, I want people to follow me kind of thing. That was like the drive behind most of it.
Wow. So what would you say these techniques and everything, as far as like the ascension and helping the planet and everything, do you think there's any other groups out there that are kind of not discovered right now that are assisting in the same type of mission, like Crystal River Mission, ascension stuff with the planet?
I think there's probably a lot, and there's when you don't have a piece of information, like when KS opened this up a whole lot of details, mechanics about how everything's structured and how it works together. But when you don't have that information, it's not like you're not doing something the right way. It's whatever was working for you, as long as you have that positive intention and you're holding that same vision for the planet and for a collective in consciousness, I think that works just the same. Some people are just want more details. More details help them. Some people, it just doesn't. They don't need that. They just haven't found it yet, or it hasn't found them, or it's just not a crucial piece for them on that level.
Well, do you think that they're bringing in an equal amount of frequency, or do you think the KS is like the core and this is the end all? Like, this is going to be as big as it gets as far as like the techniques and everything, or do you think there's really anything else, other support out there on the planet, or do you think this is it?
I really can't say for sure. I mean, I just have to just wait and see if something else comes about, or how that plays out. I'm open to that possibility. I mean, I do question that sometimes. I wonder, if is there anything else on top of this, or is there going to be something else that comes around that resonates well and has more to it, but it hasn't happened.
Well, the reason I ask is because it kind of creates a stigma around it itself. Whenever you do kind of look at it like that, I've noticed, which I mean, it may very well be true. This is as high as it gets, but it kind of creates a kind of isolation type effect whenever you think about like this is it, and what's the rest of the world up to? What are they doing? And I think that's been a lot of why it hasn't really expanded into mainstream, I guess, is kind of the attitude that a lot of KSers have, whether they project it consciously or not, that, this is it, we found it, this is it. And I've had that myself, because there's nothing that matches, there's nothing that's parallel with this that I've found, and I've done quite a voyage, into other religions and different things. So, you kind of can't not have that with you.
Right. No, I totally agree with you there. I kind of just, I just hold it like, this is working right now. This is the best thing I can find right now.
Right.
And that's kind of where I stand with it. Yeah.
That's a good attitude, just right now, and just keep the door open, and never stop looking also, never just close off.
I'm open to look at everything. I'm totally open with everything, and I like to speak from experience rather than just speak from what might be written. So I try a lot of things just because I want to see, how it actually works personally instead of just taking other people's accounts.
I really love the merger that's taking place right now in today's science with the neurons and the neural plasticity with the group and the meditations. I don't know if you caught some of the first ones with the E-LAi-sa meditations and the neural axial tonal neural bonding, where you're actually working hands-on with your brain and with your neurons and doing healing. It's a lot of power of suggestion in that to create new neural pathways and evolve. And that's what science is actually. It's like hands-on stuff, because that's what science is peaking at right now, is really discovering this type of science.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and it's definitely fascinating.
Yeah. All right, well, we'll go ahead and take another break here, and we'll be back in just a couple minutes. Thanks for listening.
F-A-C-Ra. Ajune, Ajune, Ajune.
All right, we are back here with Stefan, MKS Reality Check, Blog Talk Radio. Stefan, I had one more question before I get into some questions some other KSers had for you here. What is your view on the split that's occurred in this group?
Has
it really affected you that much? That's what I was trying to ask before, like how involved you were with people, if you knew other people in this group that well, and like how it's affected them.
Not really. I can't really speak on that too much. I will say though, before I knew about the split, and I was watching workshops like with E-LAi-sa and with
E-LAi-sa, E-LAi-sa's husband, right?
Yeah, and then him more so than Speaker 3, but I always had a weird feeling about him. Like, I can't say that for sure.
Really?
I did. It was kind of odd. It was just sort of like something was off there compared to E-LAi-sa. I always just preferred to listen to her at all. I probably could
what
say
about
I felt
Speaker
better.
3?
I felt a little bit better about her than I did about E-LAi-sa. But yeah, that's pretty much it. I mean,
how did you? Speak. Because I mean, he was the one doing the Flame Body CDs, right? It was his voice on there. How did you feel with that? Did you have the CD for Flame Body?
Yeah, I did. I guess at the point when
you feel like he was projecting anything?
When I started doing those, had already come to terms with the fact that the split had happened. So it was just like I was just kind of, as much as it did kind of I did let it bother me at some point.
Right.
I think we were talking about that. I just got to the point where I just overcame it. I just overcame that. That was.
It's just really interesting hearing from somebody that just stepped into the work, like right after the split, and then you go to Flame Body and you just trust. That's really cool. Like, did you do the Seed Atom journey, the one you're supposed to do before you do Flame Body and everything?
The one that's on like the techniques on the site. Yeah, I've done that.
I believe it's like the August.
Okay.
You did that before you did Flame Body, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. But you felt okay, like doing the CDs and everything, like you just kind of put it out of your mind.
Right. I did let it affect me for a short period of time after I found out about it. I kind of was like, whoa, those people are bad. Kind of had an attitude. And then I came to terms with it because I'm like, well, there's still good information here in this work, so
it's not all for lost.
Right, and she even says that too. So it was kind of like I just have to come to terms with this and know that I'm okay doing this, and it's protected here, and it's okay.
I think she has mentioned the guardians told her that all of it's protected. You know, it's safe to do all those stuff after you do the seed atom journey. That's like a crucial journey that you pick up your core eternal seed, and you know you're protected. Yeah. It's like the coding begins. You know.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So I guess you weren't really involved enough to feel the impact of the split as many other ones have. Okay. Have you seen how people? Have you been able to get active enough to see the different sides? So you've been that close to it to see how people are kind of on different camps?
Not particularly. I didn't really have an interest to really get into it too much like that. And really my focus wasn't really on those things, I guess.
Not about the drama. All right.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I'll go ahead and go into some questions here that some people suggested that I ask you here. One of them is, how did you know that these were the right teachings at the time? If you were doing other things, like what stood out, I guess.
The level of information, the details, how it just brought up a ton of cellular memory for me. It just was like I was so, I could feel so much, and I was just like, felt like that's why I was doing all the drugs. I was trying to fill in the missing pieces, and all that was really doing was opening me up even more and more, and making more blank pieces and more things I needed to fill in. And then I found this, and it was like boom, 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 like the puzzle was just coming together. And I was like, wow, like this is incredible. And that's kind of how I knew it, the way it felt. I knew by the way it felt.
By the way it felt. It brought in a feeling of being whole, I guess. Because when you're doing the drugs, you're just like wanting to find that wholeness, to fill in the void type thing. So that's what the teachings are like, the ultimate drug, I guess.
Yeah.
It just gives you everything.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. Well, there's people that are hooked on it. Believe me.
I mean, that's kind of what it is. It's like, it's what frequency is. You find that it's like we're tuning forks, like you strike one tuning fork and you hold one that's not ringing up to it, and it's going to start ringing. So, I mean, it's kind of how we are, too.
Okay, here's another question. What is the most challenging part of following the teachings?
At first, it was the amount of information. Like, I mean, there was 12 or 14 years of teachings before I stepped in and started learning it. So it was like, oh my goodness, I have to go back and like learn all this. There's so much. I'm never going to be able to do all this. And then I just kind of realized that I didn't have to look at it like that, and that took me a while. I mean, I fought with that for at least a good year, or maybe 8-9 months to a year.
Where did you find the peace in knowing that you didn't have to do that?
I guess just coming to terms with it and keep telling myself, take what pieces of this are going to work for you and just use them, and not feel so overwhelmed of having to, think that you need to catch up on all this. It was kind of like a mental thing, like I was just toying with myself in that way. So I had to kind of just overcome that and just.
Were you able to do? Was it something like you did a technique and then you saw results right away, or was it just like some kind of truth that just came into your life and it was a gradual lift up type thing?
Well, a little bit of both. More so, definitely. It's just that hearing the information was just so uplifting. It just kept filling in things, and every time I'd watch, I'd learn something else, and it would fill in a piece, and it would fill in another piece, and then things would come together, and I'm like, okay, this is really seriously working for me, for what I was trying to do for myself anyway.
Okay, here's another question. How do you apply the teachings into your daily life?
Mainly
like A&Rs, I guess.
Oh, that's like my Bible right there. The A&Rs are like.
Well, she didn't say A&Rs, but she's just saying like, how do you apply it to your daily life, like just the work as a whole. I guess you're saying A&Rs.
I teach people and myself, one of the biggest ones on there, that's a really good example, the A&Rs. That's huge for me. I refer to that constantly, at least once a week, probably read them, look through them. The biggest
that
one
alone
that stands up
can
the most.
It's everything. Yeah.
Oh, it is. It totally is. The biggest thing that I find myself using out of that and helping other people figure out is the self-containment. Not externalizing anything and knowing that you're picking those filters to make yourself feel that way and look at stuff that way. It's not that thing itself. It's the way you're looking at it. And I mean, when you tell somebody tells you about something that they're going through, and you can bring that up and you can show them how they're the one doing that. It's just, bam, it just unlocks.
That sounds like accountability.
And they can heal. Right. Oh, what?
They kind of all merge together. I mean, you can't have one without the other. You mentioned one, and they all just stream in together. It's like magic.
Very, very true.
Yeah. There's something magical about those. They definitely touched on the right things they needed to get on. Yeah. Okay, here's another question. What is the most important dream that you've had since discovering the teachings? We're talking about dream world stuff. I guess like vision or dream.
Nothing's really standing out to me when I think about that, and particularly.
Did your dreams open up? I did sliders, and it felt like something happened in the dream world. It was like some kind of stream. I was able to remember them better. Did you have anything like that, like where dreams became more lucid, or you went on journeys?
I can say, like what I should, I guess, I smoked a lot of pot, but when I started the teachings, and when I stopped
while you were doing flame body, right?
No, I did the flame body stuff later. Probably after I had maybe a little bit. It's that kind of like, it's kind of hazy, and that's probably why, I was doing that. But once I stopped smoking, my dreams immensely opened up, especially being able to remember them, remember more details about them, because before that it was just kind of like blank. Like I'd just wake up and it was like I didn't even dream. It was just blank.
Oh, wow.
But
not
now
good
at all. Or maybe I did, but it's just like I didn't focus on it, and not smoking, clearing that out of my system.
You didn't have those processing dreams where you woke up and you're like aha type thing, or something that you needed to get to process your subconscious clutter stuff. That's important. I think dreams are very important.
I completely agree with you. They are definitely very important, definitely. And I do that now. I can do that now, but I can't really compare because of the weed thing. I can't really say what dreams were like before KS and then after, because before I don't really have I smoked for like 9 years every day, so I don't really have a good comparison there. But now dreams are great. I mean, they can be, sometimes they're really weird, and I can kind of discern, what they mean or what's going on and what the message is.
Okay. What has been the most inspiring thing from the teachings?
Well, I could definitely say, E-LAi-sa's consistency, and just keep going and keep doing it and just moving through it, and, presenting all the information regardless of any, slander from people who think it's a cult or whatever, and just that, embodying that, that she does. It's just, that's very inspiring to me, and on all kinds of levels.
Definitely. Her commitment.
Yeah, her commitment, yeah.
She is totally committed to it. There's a lot of respect for anybody that's able to just carry through with the job and just get it done all the way, until the line stops, and it just has not stopped. It's been nonstop.
Yeah, especially just like, beautiful. I don't know if you're taking this new workshop, the one that's going on right now or not, but it's this is like the longest workshop in KS history. Like it's amazing.
It's a month. Today is the marker for the month, so it's crazy. Yeah. How's that been going for you? You said you had a real bilocation experience. Were you like at the computer, or were you laying down, listening to it like in a meditative?
I was at the computer staring at it, and I didn't take it very deep. You know, I didn't like go really deep with it. I just kind of like did it, and then I stopped, and I was just kind of waiting for her to come on and talk that night, and she never did. And then I talked to my friend about it, and he told me his experience with it, where he actually like went into this room, auditorium kind of room, and I was like, wow, you know, that's what I did bilocate. That's really what I did, and it was super easy. And he had the same experience, but it was like really easy for him to actually do. And
well, when there's that many people that have been following this and are able to just go down that path, and we're all doing it at the same time, it really opens up a lot for people that might not be as good at it to just kind of step into that wave, you know. And there's a definite wave stream happening right now. Yeah. I've been riding the wave a little bit differently, kind of with my life, and, you know, because I can feel the hires assembling up there and streaming down here. So I've been taking that energy and kind of sorting things where they need to go in my 3D life, like in this density, doing more of that work. So I guess there's different routes to it. I really love hearing the stories from people like you about like the experiences too, because that's a lot of fun to be able to do that too.
For sure.
Yeah. Well, listen, I know you got to get ready here pretty soon. I want to thank you for joining us in your preface. Again, everybody, if you haven't heard his preface, definitely listen to that. And he shares a lot with us with that. I really appreciate your time, man. Thanks for coming on.
Yeah.
My first real interview.
Thanks, man.
All right. We'll catch you later.
All right.
Well, I want to take this time to thank Alicia Lane also for joining in, and we're going to have a follow-up interview coming up hopefully this week if I can contact her. And wanted to let you guys know about the other interview that's coming up this week on Thursday with Leo Giles Dexter, and that's going to be on this Thursday on the 30th. And you can find that episode description right here on the station. So thank you guys for joining, and I guess hopefully we'll have another. And I've got a couple other interviews lined up for later today, so they'll probably be pre-recorded. So you can look for those. It only lets me upload one episode per day, so I'll definitely have another episode tomorrow, and probably Wednesday and Thursday also, or Wednesday also. So thank you guys for joining. If you have any suggestions or if you would like to pitch in and help and do an interview also, this station is open for everybody in KS to share and for your input. So just wanted to make sure everybody knows that. And we encourage more people to stand up and express. You know, I think there's definitely a call for more of that that's happening right now that I'm hearing. So hopefully you hear it also and are able to join in with this project, and we'll see where it goes. All right. Hope you guys have a beautiful day. Thank you.
Love in silent whispers brings a light from far beyond. A heart will speak of memories long after it's gone. The moonlit breeze caress your skin. No, our love is there. Distance seeming endless dissolves without a care. Though seasons change and tides will flow on the shores of which we know, the time has new meaning and love can only grow. Music, hear the melodies and the voices of those who know your names. The faces faces may be unknown to you, but the message is still the same. In life and death we all are one. Division's not as once supposed. Even in the darkest night, you are not alone. The love we send from compassion comes. To understand is then to love. In our voice the echoes of others yet unknown. Of others yet unknown. In life and death we all are one. Division's not as once supposed, but even in the darkest night, you are not alone. Even in the darkest hour, you are not alone. You are not alone.